Hi there, and welcome to the first EduConnect video about algebra. So as you can see on the screen, there's an algebraic expression. So this x plus 2y plus 15 is called an algebraic expression. Now, some key definitions we'll go through first. So the x and the y, which are highlighted in blue, are called pronumerals, as you can see on the right, and variables. They're both the same thing. And then the 2 that's in green is called a coefficient. So the coefficient is the number in front of the variable. Now you will notice in front of the x there is no number. That's because the coefficient of the x is 1. So whenever in algebra there's a coefficient of 1, you never write anything. It's just always 1 there. Now the 15 you'll see is in purple, so that means it's a constant. So any number is known as a constant term. So now I'll give you guys a question to try and work out from this equation. So if I write 15x plus 2y plus 3, I want you to work out the number of terms and then the coefficient of the x and the value of the constant. Now I'll give you guys the answer. So the number of terms in this is 3 because there's one here 15x, one here 2y, and one here which is 3. Now the coefficient of x here is a 15 because as you can see there's a 15 in front of the x, and the constant term is the 3 because it's a number. So what we'll do now is go through some algebraic notation. So this is one of the most important parts of algebra because it can really stuff up your work if you don't do it correctly, and it can be integral to solving much harder problems in the future. So the first thing is notating when there's a multiplication or a division of an algebraic term. So for example, if there is 2 times x. Now, if this was a number, you'd probably write it as 2 times 3, say if x was 3. But in algebra, what you write it as is 2x. So whenever you see anything like that, so essentially the rule is that xy is equal to x times y. Right? Now, for division, it's a bit different. So 2 divided by x will always be written as 2 over x. So if there's ever a division in an algebraic term, then you always write it as a fraction. You never keep it as a division. Okay, now another part of algebraic notation is how you actually write the terms. So a very important thing is this. So I'll just write out this little equation here. Now you notice that I wrote the x, t, and z quite differently to how you would probably write it in English. The main reason for doing that is see if I wrote it like I would normally write it in English. Just see if you can try and work out what the problem is here. Now, as you can see, it's very difficult to understand what it actually means. It's obvious in the first equation that it's 3x times 2t plus 2z. But in the second equation, you don't know whether it's 3xx, 2t, t, 2z, or zz, or z squared, or something like that. So it's quite important that you always notate your algebra properly and always write your x's this way, your t's with a hook, and your z with a line through them. Now our next section is substituting values into algebraic expressions. So first we'll go through how to substitute positive values and then we'll go into negative values. So this is a place where many juniors and senior students often stuff up. So the problem is that a lot of people substituted in incorrectly, and that can lead to some real mistakes that can really hamper your final answer. So I'll go through the proper technique here. So as you can see here, I've already given you a question here. So if x equals 3, work out 2x plus 7. So the way you'd go about doing this is you do 2, right? So if you remember from the previous one, 2x is equal to 2 times x. Now 2 times x is also equal to 2 and then in brackets x. So when you're substituting values in, always put the value in brackets. So in this case you put 2 and then inside the bracket 3 and then plus 7. Now this is extremely important, especially when you're dealing with negative values, which we'll go into later. But it really helps you actually understand the equation and not make silly mistakes where you multiply by negative numbers and positive numbers where you should multiply by the other way. So this is obviously equal to 6 plus 7, which is 13. Okay, now I'm just going to give you a question here. So say y equals 4 and x equals 2. I want you to work out 3y plus 2x plus 7. Now what you should have got is 3 and then in the bracket 4 plus 2 in the bracket 2, and then plus 7, which is equal to 12, plus 4, plus 7, which is equal to 23. Right? So that's how you substitute positive values into algebraic equations. Now, if you want to do a negative value, it's a bit different. Again, you need the brackets. So x equals minus 3, and we've got the same equation again. So if we use the same way we did before, you should get the correct answer. So 2, and then instead of the x, you put a negative 3 in brackets, and then add 7, which would get you negative 6 plus 7, which is equal to 1. Right? So I'll just give you another question here. So let's say y equals minus 2, and x and z equals minus 4. I want you to work out 13y plus 2z plus 5. So how you'd go about doing this is the same way as we've done before. 13, and then in brackets minus 2, plus 2, and then in brackets minus 4, plus 5, which would equal minus 26. And then this, so plus 2 times minus 4 is equal to minus 8. So you have to be very careful with that. Don't do the incorrect operation or the incorrect sign, because that can, again, really mess up your final answer. And then plus 5. Now that is equal to minus 34 plus 5, which is minus 29. Well, that brings this video to an end, and I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and also comment any questions you may have. If you have any further questions or doubts that you'd like clearing up, please feel free to go onto the EduConnect website, which will be linked in the description, and sign up for one of our free plans, where I'll help you by using video calls to clear up any doubts you may have.